Does your child need to know logic?
Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now. Our children will develop logic whether we teach them logic or not. So let me explain. In my book, Parenting with Influence, I talk about the child development, how they move through the different ages and what is happening in the early years. They're learning primarily through obedience training and rules and regulation, boundaries and things that we set up for them, what's normal behavior. And even in that time, sometimes they will ask why. And it's usually to avoid seeking to avoid behavior, obedience. But as they move through their development, you'll see that in this graphic that shows that in the early years we have lots of control and they have childlike faith and they follow our instructions and they believe that we're right. But soon as that control line, the red line, begins to fall, it happens somewhere in the tween years. And certainly by the early teen years, they're seeking to understand all the things that you have taught them in the past. They're beginning to ask the questions why, and why in a sense of, is this right, or what makes this to be the right way? And so the logic part of their brain, where they are taking one piece of information of old and they're comparing it to the new information that has come in, and they're trying to decide, is the truth of old still the truth of today? And they're comparing all these different things that are happening, and their brains are now developed to where it can compare new information to old information, and we call that logic. And that the whole concept of if A plus B equals C, then we can draw other logical conclusions, and so they have a renewed capacity for making those connections and trying to understand the values behind them, and if it is really true or is it just a rule. And so during those tween years, they begin to ask why in a totally different way. And logic is becoming alive in them. Their emotions are arousing, and they're trying to put values on all these different things that previously they may have accepted just simply by blind faith, but now they're beginning to ask why. And why in a sense that I want to understand the reason behind this rule, the reason behind this teaching. I want to understand how do we know this to be true? And those are normal processes that happen whenever they begin to take control of their lives. And so we oftentimes become very frustrated with them, and we want to just say, because I said so. And yet it's during those times that we have an opportunity to help guide their thinking. And there is a time when they're developing this logic in their brain, and they're trying to assign value to different things and decisions. We have a chance to walk with them and say, well, this is the way that I see it, and these are the things that I know to be true, and therefore, because this is true, this is why I made that decision. And this is why I am restricting your freedom in this area, or whatever. But begin to help them understand the reasoning behind the rules as their logic and as their understanding increases. It varies with every child, so I can't put an age on it. Children mature differently, but you begin to see that the questions of why have a different tone to them. Hopefully you've built a lot of trust in the early years to where then the why is not so angry. It's not so intense, but it really is, well, why can't I go to the party? Why can't I have a cell phone? Or why can't I, whatever the restriction is that they're bucking against, they're trying to understand why. And I'm not saying that they will immediately buy into your thinking, but it is an opportunity for you to help them to develop the thinking and the reasoning, the value system, not just the rule. And so it's very important for us as parents to drop our emotional response to their questioning, because it's more about them questioning the process, questioning the decision rather than questioning you as a person. We as a parent tend to take that personally and we want to put them in their place, so to speak. But their place is changing. They're no longer a child. They're becoming adult in their thinking, and we have a chance to help them along that path. And so look for opportunities. In fact, I challenge you to not wait until they're asking why, but then you begin to say, do you know why we do this a certain way, or why we're not letting you have this or go to that or whatever? Do you know why? And let them explain to the best of their understanding. And sometimes they do understand. They're just disappointed with your decision. But there are times where they don't understand, and they can understand if you talk to them and you have conversation. And just remember that when emotion is high, communication is low. So look for times whenever the emotion is down that you can say, do you know why? I want to help you to understand why. And so during those years where they are seeking to understand, that's not the time to say, because I said so. It's time to begin to develop their thinking, give them information, help them to understand your value system. And you think, I've been doing that all their life. They are different. They understand different during this time of transitioning from a child to adult thinking. It's uncomfortable for them. It's uncomfortable for you. But begin to answer their questions. Why? They have logic now. They can begin to practice using it. And it's a privilege as a parent to walk that path with them and help them to develop good thinking, logic. This is Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now.
Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.